whatever.
Taylor Swift.
T Swift.
Taylor Grift.
Welcome to
This
the
is why it's.
Go ahead.
I was just
No,
saying,
go
this
ahead.
is why it's just so much easier just to sit there and say, I just like music. It's
Oh,
a
yeah.
cop out.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
total
It's
cop out.
I like
But
all
then
music.
you don't have to say
don't
then you
like
don't have to say, oh, I like this band, or I don't like this band, because inevitably those bastards are going to come out with something really freaking good.
Or they're going to say something completely horrible that makes you question your ability to sit there and follow them around. Anyways, welcome to the PARAcast. Joining me tonight, another year, another lump of cold, another dead mall Santa. It's the Santa Strangler, Robert Wyatt.
I told that bastard I wanted to have like a Transformer for Christmas, and he kept bringing me G.I. Joes. I'm like, what the hell?
And now the 43rd dead Santa. And the reason that kids are fatherless for the season, it's Jared Stepp.
Just one.
Oh shit.
And
join us at 10 p.m. for KSL News.
yeah. And as seen on Where They Are Now, the kid from Up, Andy Erickson.
Yeah,
the kid from Up, Andy. Like, where are they now?
I'm so torn. I don't know if I want to laugh or if I want to punch you, Tom. I'm not exactly sure.
Why not both?
About that one. That was a good one. Hey, I was sitting on the toilet and I love your intros, Tom. I wrote some intros. Can I do intros for you guys?
Sure. Let's do some intros.
Yeah. Okay. Because no one ever does one for Tom.
No one ever does one. Alex has a few of them left saved up for me. Let's have.
Tom's an emotional fragile state right now.
Yeah, so easy now. Easy.
We're not trying to break Tom.
Well, the first one I came up with was like, I'm not good enough friends with Tom to do this one. No, I'm not going to do that. But I have a better one. Okay. He will say he's going to your match until his favorite Frenchmen are in town. It's Tom Nelson.
The Phoenix. There you go.
Yeah.
True story.
That was why you bagged out on Great Plains, right? Because Phoenix ended up coming to town whatever.
Phoenix came to town, and then I also had like limited personal time, and then I had other stuff going. You know what?
Sure.
The first year after divorce, they say it's the funnest. I don't think it is. I think it's horribly expensive. At some point,
my brother said the same thing about both of them.
Yeah. Well,
he said I was FAT. So I said he looked like he had FAS as a baby. It's Robert Wyatt.
I don't even know what that means.
Fetal alcohol
syndrome.
You got a retarded baby is what he's saying.
Well, number one, I mean, my mom did have problems, and then it caused her, untimely death. So screw you, Andy.
Yeah. Bring up your dead mom like a loser,
Robert.
Why don't you come back with
you moved up in weight class?
Oh yeah, I waited.
Why didn't you come up with a real comeback instead of my mom's dead? What a loser comeback.
That is like the best part. Okay, this sort of sucks, but the best part about your parents being dead is that now you get to go and say, my parents are dead, you bastard. Whenever anybody brings stuff up like that, you totally get to play that card.
Well, if you're going to play that card, just play it without them being dead. It's way more fun.
Wait, I got one more. This one's my favorite. The only thing that could get me to drive to Utah is to put my mouth on his George T. Stagg. It's Jared Stepp.
Yeah. Hey, guess what?
It's gone. What? You drank it all?
I have another one.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
And a pappy.
Oh, did you win
and you got to buy it at MSRP? Oh,
yes.
My God.
I won the raffle.
I should have done
twice.
What is the pappy when you don't have to pay market price?
It was like, so it technically wasn't a Pappy Van Winkle. It was a Rip Van Winkle because it's the same mash bill or whatever, but it's the 10-year as opposed to the 13 or the 20 or the 25. Also, my Skype just freaked out and I can't see anyone.
Oh, well,
I can see you just fine.
You're still fantastic.
I guess
you're
as
beautiful.
long as you guys can see us, see me. That's really weird.
I can see you. You're so beautiful.
That happened to me last time I was on your show. I feel your pain.
So, Ruger.
Yeah, I hate.
Go ahead. Say
I hate this old 1990s Skype technology, but it's the only thing we got. So.
And it works like a charm, like the Dickens. Anyways, I get this in the mail this week. There you go. The 507 competition.
Wow.
And I sat there and I had it on the Glock for a minute. Then I put it on the P30. And on the P30, it is actually quite lovely because it actually gives
Quite
you
tall.
It is tall. I'm not gonna lie. I mean,
Yeah, like the
it's tall.
submarine captain wants his periscope back.
It's tall on every gun. It's if it's direct milled, it's a little bit better, but the Langdon plate isn't that thick, and it is a tall on a hammer fired gun. That is for
Right.
sure. Probably less tall than a Delta Point Pro.
Hey
But
Tom, why can they not cut that lower into the slide? Is there just junk in there? Because it looks like it's barely on the top of it.
They can't cut it any lower because of something called a firing pin stop, a firing pin block.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's generally your
Sounds like excuses.
Yeah, well, if you're a CZ
hey,
Shadow
Sid,
2
Sid
fan,
doesn't
they just
let drop safety get in the way.
The CZ Shadow 2, they're just like, screw that. We're not going to do that. Just free float that firing pin.
That's the way I feel about it. Don't drop the gun. We don't have a problem.
So most of the modern pistols, that's what's the limiting factor. Like when people always get an M&P and they're like, oh man, why is this not cut as deep as I would like? And then it becomes because the firing pin block literally goes, you can only cut it to the depth of the rear sight. So that dovetail for the rear sight holds in the firing pin block, so you can't cut it any deeper unless you want to get a new firing pin block or something else that goes in there. I mean, there's always some limiting factor in kind of these older guns that prevents them from getting that much deeper. So
interesting.
Have it on there. It's pretty good, pretty great. I think it's pretty awesome. I still like the 6-way Delta Point dot. I think that's still a little bit better piece of glass and a better dot. But the emitter on this thing is pretty freaking sweet. I mean, it really gives you a nice clear dot, and it gives you a nice big screen. And so if you want to spend half the cost of the SRO, it seems to be a great option. The other thing I went down and did is the old people at Gray Guns were having a 20% off sale. Well, I've got to go through my basket of parts. I was just about to install this, but I got one of their, son of a bitch, I dropped it. I got one of their flat face trigger shoes. So where is that thing at? There it is.
That's a duct tape production right there, folks.
Yep. So you have your P30 curved shoe, and then what's going to go in here is the Gray Guns flat shoe. And so what this is going to do, so it's going to have a little bit less over travel and cleaner brake and all that jazz. But essentially what's going to happen is it's going to, instead of having the trigger brake way back there, they actually set off, it's going to brake at the 90. So the trigger brake's going to be a little bit farther forward and set off. And on a gun like the LEMs, not having to make every shot basically reset and press at the very back of the frame will be a little bit more, what would you say, like striker fired Glock-esque, because essentially it is a Glock style trigger, but then having a nice flat face trigger with a shorter reset and a farther forward brake generally will kind of help out a little bit more. And so they were 20% off, and so I figured I don't want to spend $95 for this project, but I will spend $72 for this project. And so went ahead and
Seems
got
reasonable.
Yeah.
It's funny to me, and I totally understand that. Like,
I'll be right back.
Yeah, you're fine. I totally understand that it's a vibe for you, but it feels like you're basically starting to creep into the spending money on a Shadow 2 to avoid spending money on the Shadow 2 in terms of just like the amount of effort that you're trying to get it to what you really want it to be.
On this P30 with a cut, I'm well past Shadow 2. Like I could have I could sit there and I can pull out a Glock 17 or a Glock 34 and then it's ready to go. Like,
yeah,
that's not big of a deal. The one thing that I kind of like having one of the P30s out is because like all my magazines I have around, because I have so many of these HK magazines around. So like in my emergency stuff, I have two, VP9 P30 style magazines. The girlfriend has the VP9 with two VP9 magazines. The carry gun's a P2000 spare magazine. That's all VP9 style magazines. And so like I have all these out, and it just feels so weird to go in there and go grab the Glock and then be like, all right, well now I have a Glock and 4 magazines out for competition or whatnot. So
right. No, it's just it's funny because to me it's like I could, at this point I could probably go into any room in my house and pick up a CZ mag, and so I sort of get that idea of just having that sort of thing.
What dot do you like, Tom? There's like 80,000 settings on the 507 comp. What's your jam on that?
The 2 MOA or the 2 MOA with the ring. I mean, it's dot enough. The 8 MOA circle dot is kind of the thing that I kind of like the best on the gun.
Yeah, that's what I use.
It looks.
Wait, hang on a second. I kind of didn't catch that. Which one did you like better?
The 8 MOA dot with the 8 MOA ring with the. I don't know if you can kind of see it.
2 MOA dot in the middle.
With the 2 MOA dot in the middle. So that's
the bullseye looking thing.
It essentially creates a 8 MOA. It's more of a horseshoe than a full ring or circle, but
yeah,
right. I don't notice that it doesn't encapsulate the whole thing all the way around. I don't care. I like a bigger dot than a smaller dot. So
yeah, and the weird thing with like the horseshoe kind of shape, it's like it seems like the center dot's a little bit higher in it, but in all actuality, it's centered. It's just an 8-0. It's just, I wonder if they have their what do they have? Their 407 CO. So that's just an 8 MOA ring. Essentially what this is without the horseshoe, but it's essentially just an 8 MOA ring. And so like I know that Holoson's kind of a fan of that. And so essentially they just kind of made something like that on the 507 comp. But like if I wonder what stops them from just being able to hold down the button and then change dot sizes. I understand like they can't probably project
They probably could.
A 2 MOA dot and then you hold it down and it projects a 4 MOA dot or an 8 MOA dot or something like that. I think for the normies or whatever, they kind of want like, oh, here's all these different looking dots instead of messing around with big dot sizes. But the preferred dot, I was down there at the Sportsman's Warehouse yesterday and they had the Vipers, not the Viper setup, the Defender series setup on there, and it's just like I grabbed those Defender series optics and I'm just like, what else do you want? Like price point, glass, clarity, dot size, like these things are fire. It's the best dot.
I really don't see how anything out there right now is going to beat the Defender, especially the XL. And then, I mean, the 507 comp's good, but dude, the Defender XLs they've gotten really cheap too. Like I found a couple of them online for like $250, $300.
The comp dots, yeah. And
those were like the first generation of them when they were kind of still in testing or whatever. They weren't like done.
Right.
It was like the demo version, but yeah.
They have
because Shields was unloading a bunch of those over Black Friday. I know.
That's the comp dot one.
The comp dot, yeah.
It's
so they
the
have
same thing.
It's
the exact same thing.
It just doesn't have the plates in it that you get with
it doesn't have all the extra
plates.
all the extra packages or whatever. And like the ST is the perfect size for me because it's like slightly bigger than an RMR, slightly smaller than a Delta Point, but like a decent kind of carry size dot. You know, it's not going to leave the screen or whatever. But the only reason I spent $300 and something on this thing was because I didn't have an extra Delta Point slide that I could sit there and throw this thing on. Like I have a bunch of direct milled stuff. I don't really have an MOS system. In fact, do I have any plates? I don't have. This is the only plate system I have is this P30, and that limits you to Trijicon and the EPS footprint. So like I couldn't put a Delta Point or a ST on that, but I would love just to do that. So it's just kind of this deal. It's like everyone's got a bunch of Trijicon footprint stuff, and unless you have an old Delta Point gun, like a lot of us don't have the milled Delta Point stuff.
Well, apparently,
literally the only. Sorry, it's the only bad point. It's the only bad thing about the Defender is the loopholed footprint. Like that's the only thing I don't like about it. Otherwise, they're awesome.
If you talk to Dave Blanton about it, he said he thinks that basically the world's going to the Delta Point footprint over time.
With the military choosing it, everything's gonna slowly rotate to that. It's a little bit more versatile because it's a little bit more narrow than the RMR, so I think it can be mounted on more and used on more guns. I also believe that Vortex is coming out with some new red dots this upcoming year, and I was told there are going to be some new mini red dots coming out.
Like concealed carry mini red dots?
I don't know.
Right on.
Technically, all handgun dots are the mini red dots.
Oh.
And so maybe there'll be new versions of that, or maybe it'll be the same thing, but just a RMR footprint. Because, I mean, it wouldn't be hard for them to do it. And I'm sure people have been clamoring for it. And if they can make that happen, they would own like the entirety of the market. And so Vortex, I was talking to those guys, and it sounds cool. I don't know if that's what it is. I genuinely have no idea what they're coming out with, but I just know that I was told that they're coming out with some new stuff in April-ish, and that he's hoping to hook me up with a bunch of stuff to give out at the match. So I'm excited for that.
Well, I just got another I just got another XL yesterday. Eric finally was able to swing it by, so I'm now sitting on a pair of them. And there's a part of me that really does want to switch out the SROs, but damn, those SROs just keep working, and it's hard. It's hard to go away from that.
See, you say that, but I'm never buying another one.
You say that, yes. But my SRO just died. I just got it back from Trigicon.
Well, yeah,
so
I know.
They just sent me a brand new one.
Well, everybody has a story that they died, but it's like, well, how many rounds did it go through before it died? And that's the
they
rub
all
of it.
will die.
Everything dies eventually.
Everything dies.
Mm-hmm.
But Trigicon took a good care of me, and I sent them an email, said, hey, this broke. I was at a match. It won't turn on. And they said, well, have you tried doing this? And I said, no, it won't work. And they said, okay, we'll just send you an RMA. And then a couple weeks later, they send me a message and say, hey, something's wrong with it. We'll just send you a brand new red dot. And so I have a brand new SRO upstairs just chilling.
Yeah.
And now I got to figure out what I'm going to do with it.
To be sold for something else. The one thing,
right?
Like, the Delta Point, like Vortex did a good thing. The P320, I mean, it can take an RMR, but it's basically milled for a Delta Point footprint. Every MOS Glock, you can mount a Delta Point too, and especially if you send it with the damn plate. So that's smart too. Like, they have a Delta Point plate, they're going to send you with the better plate, with the loophole. The Smith & Wesson M&P Core series comes with the Delta Point plate. And like the 509 series guns, those come with a Delta Point plate. Like, all these standard guns that are coming out, they either come with or can be shipped with a Delta Point plate for them. And so, like, when you look at it, but the big three, SIG Glock, well, Glock, SIG, and Smith & Wesson, the three biggest manufacturers, they're all shipping with that. And I think the only kind of weird kind of character in all of that is like CZ. CZ's kind of doing a weird thing, so I wonder if they'll do this with the P10s or future versions of the gun, where they're basically the new, like, CZ P07, P09 Nocturnes are shipping with like the RMSC footprint on there because of the narrow slide. And so it's kind of interesting to see where it's going, but like, I don't know. Delta Point footprint's making a comeback, but the one thing too is the one thing that's kind of going away is the direct mill, because eventually we're not going to be able to find guns from the factory that are not optics ready and the stuff that we want.
Right.
Like, they're just
but if you want to get that dot low, the direct mill is pretty legit.
Yep. Unless you're starting to get new guns like the Echelon that will already get them pretty low, or the RXM, which will already get them pretty low, or the 509s, the FN's 509s, which will get them pretty low. Like, they're just solving that from the factory now. Like,
the one thing about Glocks though, they're not coming with all the plates anymore.
Nope.
Oh. Because when I got my Glock 20, it came with a Trigicon pattern plate. You're not getting all four like you used to, which is a bummer.
Honestly, that's probably a good move by Glock, where a lot of it's going to save them money. They have less complaints because, honestly, the plates that they were including were kind of dog shit. And so,
I mean, I like legit. Were they? I don't know. I just don't use it much.
You could torque and bend them. Like, they were compressible under torque pressure. Like, you could put it to 15 or 16 pounds torque pressure, and you could bend the shit.
They were really
I have
not
one sitting
good.
behind me on the bench that's
folded
up because I used I used an SRO as the vice, so to speak, and bent it.
Oh wow!
So a lot of it it was made from some sort of pot metal. Like, it wasn't aluminum, it wasn't steel, it was some amalgamation of jank, and there were a lot of tolerance stacking going on. And from an armor standpoint, like from an agency standpoint, we installed like one day we installed like 30, 40 dots on pistols, and they seriously were just all over the place. Some of them you tighten it all down, like use a torque wrench, a fat wrench, use it correctly, torque it down, use the correct screws, and they were perfect. And then other times you torque it down, and you could get like 4 or 5 pieces of paper underneath the paper, underneath the actual plate to slide interface. And you're like, there's a lot of gap here. And then a couple of them where you'd actually start seeing that bowing, whereas like it was tight where the screws were, but over here you could again like 4, 5, 6 pieces of paper in there, and you're just like, this doesn't seem good.
Well,
and we actually,
I had the wrong screws when I did it though. That's why I did it. I had completely wrong screws. They were too long.
That's like the old Gen.
Too many Ugga-Duggas.
Gen 2 and Gen 3s. The old Gen 1, Gen 2, and 3 slides, which were not like the best metal possible, but they had this little substance called Tenifer, which was a cyanide-based product, and it made shit hard as hell. And then they're like, oh, what? We can't have Tenifer cyanide dumping around the water around here. Well, you son of a guns. And then they had to go back to like a melanite, and they had to like make their slides out of something stronger. But man, the old things of like the Austrian army, like sharpening their bayonets off of Glock slides because the Tenifer was so damn hard. It's like, that's what we need. We need Tenifer plates made in South America.
There you go.
So anyways, Robert.
What I do? So we had our slips and match this week, and that was a lot of fun. It's actually the first I was telling somebody it's the first outdoor match I've shot since October, and it was great. It was awesome. I was on a great squad. George Tekmachoff and Rory Norman. It was funny. Rory, it was our second to last or our last stage. I can't remember which, but he goes and he starts and he goes and he shoots some stuff, and then he goes charging over to the far right position, and he kind of gets a little bit off, and he comes out of that position, and he does the classic oh shit stumble fall, and he crashes so hard into that target stick it completely blew the target stick in half. And dude, it's one of the beautiful things about USPSA shooters. It's so ingrained in us if we've been doing it for long enough to just jam that gun down range. And he did. He was perfectly safe. He's got a video up on his Instagram account.
Is that a reshoot?
No.
But the target broke.
Well, he already shot it. It's scoreable.
True. I'd buy that.
I'm just saying. If that's a stage malfunction.
What if it hadn't been shot yet, and it's accidental? Wouldn't that be range equipment failure? I'm not sure.
At that, if he hadn't shot it yet.
I mean, right?
And it's a legit accident, like it was. Like he just ate shit, ran into a target.
That's a great question. I would I'm not sure. In that regard,
I think it would be.
So
at least that's what I would do, not knowing.
What's he supposed to do? Just walk up and shoot the target on the ground and be like, "Gah."
It does, because it changes the presentation of the target in a negative way. I think any reasonable RM, RO, whatever, you'd be like, we're just gonna reshoot it. But he finished the stage and kind of banged himself up pretty darn good. But yeah, good on him.
Dedication. That's dedication right there. You know someone's serious about the sport if they're sacrificing their body for it.
Oh yeah. One cool thing. So actually, Andy talked about this on the Not Another Shooting show.
I'm here.
What's that? I didn't.
I hear you say that all the time when I'm listening to your show. Like I'm here. Like
I'm right here. Oh my God! Stop ignoring.
It's like it's the drink game.
Hang on a second. So Andy, I noticed you were talking on your show about
this motherfucker.
So a little bit ago, there was a company named Cloak and Dagger came out with these new target pasters. They're brown on one side, black on the other side. And I
know what side I'm shooting.
We know. We know.
Technically, that'd be both sides for me. Continue.
But so I bought a bunch of them because I've been trying to find a new paster that actually would work in the cold, and Andy knows nothing about this because they pretty much peace out. Actually, when do you guys officially stop shooting in the winter time?
The last match of the year around my town is usually our night match in late October.
Gotcha.
And if it wasn't such a specialty match, like it would have, if it was just a club match, we'd have like 10 people maybe.
Okay.
But yeah, no, we don't. It was 22 degrees the other day, and it was raining liquid here.
You.
So that's why we don't shoot this time of year.
I know you. I asked you like, why don't you shoot? And you explain. I'm like, oh
No,
yeah,
it sucks. Nobody wants to be outside. No, it's awful.
Right. But no, the Cloak and Dagger target pasters, they work great in the cold. That was my big thing.
Really?
I'm trying to find something that actually pastes, because most of the stuff, like I bought the stuff from like the Ben Steger Pro Shop and places like that.
You know.
These they when it gets cold, they don't work. But these ones, they worked fantastic. And I've been.
Do they work good for the the main thing they're made to do is not be a bright light, if the sun's behind the target? Do they black it out good?
I can't tell you that because the slips of sun, the way we shoot, the sun's behind us all day long.
Oh, okay.
But I was talking to Brandon Mantooth, and he said these would be perfect up at LTD, where the early morning sun is always right in your face.
Dude, that's bad at LTD.
Yeah.
Like the sun really can screw you at that range.
Call your shots, bitch. It don't matter. Gosh, point the dot at the center. You got a fucking red dot. Put the dot on the center of the target, pull the trigger. Oh no, I can't tell which one's mine out of the light. It's like that's what the dot was there for. Goodness gracious. How much more are these than just a piece of tape, Robert? Is this 26 cents per paster?
They are compared to all the other rolls, they're about $1 more a roll, but it's the in the Ben Steger Pro Shop, the jumbo roll. There you go. Yeah. It's about $1 more. And from my perspective,
it's about providing a quality experience, Tom.
Taping experience.
Something that UPS doesn't understand anything about.
Hey, listen.
Wait, and you guys are tape too, aren't you? You guys use tape, not pasters?
Yes, we use tape.
It's half and half, yeah. But yeah, generally.
I've never been to anywhere that uses tape. Every match I've ever been to, they were the square pasters.
Well, that's because our state's not in a huge budget deficit, Andy. What do you think of that? Because we're frugal.
We run a balanced budget every single year.
Oh, snap!
Thank you very much. There's a constitutional amendment for it.
We just take money from God.
Well, that's
you're talking about Minnesota, not South Dakota. That's Minnesota. That's at a huge deficit.
South Dakota, they only kill their dogs.
You guys don't have enough population to get credit from anywhere else in the world, so that's why you guys have to run a balanced budget. You guys run on cash.
But no, it's they're good. I think moving forward, that's pretty much gonna be exclusively what I use for my pastry guns, because I just being able to still do stuff in the wintertime with those things, it just totally makes it worth it.
Yeah.
Whenever I practice, I get annoyed by the sun coming through bullet holes and lighting up because when I'm practicing, I'm like, how is that run? Like I'm trying to look and I can't tell if it's sunlight on a paster or if it's a bullet hole. It's just harder to look at. I would use them more for practice. If they stick in the cold, that's great, because like the Great Plains section match, that's in May. It can be cold.
Mm-hmm.
That's good to know for that. And Area 3 this year will be in late September. It could be on the cool side. So
that
definitely.
Area 3 match, you're going to, because of the proximity to, I can't remember exactly the date, but because of the proximity to nationals, you're going to actually have a lot of folks at that. I bet you.
That was when they moved nationals.
Yep.
When 100%. They moved nationals out of September because of World Shoot. That was pretty huge. Just because people are going to want to shoot an area match before that if they can, and that's what we're hoping for sure.
I honestly think it will. I mean, you usually see that every time there's a nationals coming up, all the heavy hitters tend to show up. Plus, I mean, just listening to you guys talk about it, it sounds like it's a gorgeous range, and the fact that you have a manager there that actually shoots USPSA, that surprisingly is a big effing deal.
Oh God, you have no idea. I was so afraid it was going to be some F-class CMP shooter guy who's like, slow down your shots,
Yeah.
And
1 shot per second.
Yeah, when I found out it was he's not only a USPSA member, he's a certified RO.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah, so that was good to know.
Yeah. So the other thing that was interesting, so I had bought one of those commander timers, and this was back in April, and I got it in October. And we used it for our first match, and it worked just fine. But then when we went to use it again at our match this last week, it would connect to the pads. You could start it from the pad, but it would not pull the scores in.
I didn't know you could start it from the pad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Top right.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Maybe that might be like an Android iOS difference, but on the iOS version, there's a button you can actually start it. So it actually works really well, because what that means is you can actually, and I saw this happen at an area match where they put the timer up front with the shooter, like it was in a cart or something like that, and then they basically stood back and they just hit the go button, and it just let it rip, and then it sits there and it records all the shots and everything. But then the RO doesn't have to be in front of the gun or something like that. It's a clever solution.
That's a neat feature.
Yeah.
Have you guys looked at PRACTIScore 2.0 at all?
Yes, and we will not be touching it. I have no plans on putting it. Actually, funny enough, you bring that up, because the club SLPSA asked me yesterday. They came. This is, well, George did, and he's like, we need to have a plan for going to PRACTIScore 2.0, because they're going to stop updating 1. And I was like, well, George, officially the plan is we're not putting it on any of our devices, because what we have works. And I have no intention of destroying our entire match to run what is functionally a nice alpha. It's still very, very much a step backwards, and I have no doubt that it's going to get better. 100%, it's going to get better.
Sponsored by SIG?
No, it does. It's drop safe.
Oh, okay.
No, so what I told them, and what officially we're going to do is, the Armory match will be the guinea pig, and the reason why is the Armory only puts 25 people into it at any time. So in the worst day, if it gets borked, if something goes wrong, it's a tiny match. I don't want to have a 140-person match get screwed because we're trying to fight bugs in a system. And so what I do every single time I run in my little indoor match is I try it on PRACTIScore. Like, I import all this stuff in PRACTIScore, and I'm like, okay, is it good enough yet? No. Okay, 1.0. And I just keep looking. So I'm not against it, but right now for the iOS, it represents enough of a step backwards in functionality and desirability that there's no reason to try and push to the new. And I know there's a lot of good folks out there who are running matches with PRACTIScore 2, and honestly, that's fantastic. I'm glad that they're willing to be a beta tester for somebody. But from like my professional experience in architecture, I will never ever put the latest architecture software on our computer. I always wait for them to come out with round 2 or 3 of the bug fixes, because then it's actually stable.
Well, the other part too is, like, as long as you don't update those iPads, I mean, PRACTIScore 1 will basically be always compatible on that. And so, like,
oh yeah, I mean, they're going to stop supporting it. They're not releasing any of the new classifiers on there, but that's okay, because it is
hard as to hit classifier checkbox.
Exactly. Like, yeah. So when you
build it yourself, it's not a big deal.
Yeah. Hit classifier, type the number 2402 or whatever, right? And it'll kick up to USPSA, and Rick Brotzel has everything set up. I don't know how he does it because he's smart, but he has it set up, and it'll just automatically recognize it.
Yep.
So it'll work great, and we'll go there eventually. Eventually, we'll get there. But
we haven't used 2.0 at all. I know the club down in Omaha has used it, and they said it's fine. It worked great. Last time they did a club match, they're all on Android, and you and I were texting about that, Robert.
Right.
I don't like. I'm not saying it's Android versus iOS problem, but
I think it is, though, Andy. I really do.
Could be.
I
Because if you're having
honestly,
trouble and they had none, like you both know what you're doing with it. So,
and no, 100%. And that's everything we have is iOS. It works for what we want it to do, and they're going to get it there. I have faith. I mean, Eugene is kind of the lead developer guy. I mean, he's a smart cookie. He's interesting to deal with, but he's a smart cookie. And
are you guys setting up registration where you're automatically sending a little money to them? Because I started doing that, where it's just there's a feature where it's hidden in registration, and you just like it's transparent to the user, like the person signing up. So, like I did this for Area 3. Like the match fee is actually $224 with $1 going to practiscore.
Yeah,
and it's I just really want to support them because without it we'd be so screwed.
Oh, I agree. No, I agree, and I actually don't know at the Armory match. I don't do anything because I don't handle any of the. I don't do the payment side of that, so it all basically gets paid by the Armory, but probably not in their case. Slipsa historically has always given money like at the end of the year to.
Just wrote like one check to.
Yeah, like here you go, good luck, and so that's probably what they do.
Something nice.
It's worth it. I mean, what Andy said, what you say is right. I mean, they do so much, and without them, I can't even imagine. There was a thing there was a thing like somebody was actually using their own version of a scoring system. I guess back east.
Steel Challenge was using a different app, I guess, and they're actually. I didn't realize this in both rule books. There's an official scoring app for both. So if it's something other than that, now pen and paper is still allowed, and I would assume Microsoft Excel would be allowed.
Yeah,
to crunch the numbers, but
I'd be interested to see if somebody's still using that old easy win score.
That's dedication.
Get your floppy drive out.
You gotta be a big nerd to do that with Excel.
Oh, you gotta hate yourself.
Well, Andy, that was originally that was when we first started back in. Gosh, it was 2013, 2014. That's what Red Redford did. We would shoot the UDPL matches.
2009, you'd wait till Wednesday or Thursday for the scores.
Right.
Yeah, and we thought that was great. And today it's like if you don't have your scores like driving off the range, people are texting you like, why aren't the scores posted? It's like, calm down.
Yeah. We do live scoring at my club matches.
Yeah, we do too.
Like
it's the best. It's honestly the best.
I want to know what my split was from target 14 to 15. Tell me what my transition was. Yep.
You were doing really good until you fell into that target stick.
Rory. Jared, Andy, you had something to bring up? Jared? Nothing new. Fantastic.
No, I've just been working and figuring out new job, and so it's been kind of fun. I'm still a cop. It's just moved cities, and so that's been basically my whole life this past month, and so I haven't really been able to go do anything shooting stuff. Or the nice thing is the new department, their rules are way more realistic and simple and understandable as opposed to my last department. Last department was crazy restrictive, crazy, just obsessively so about random little things like you have to use a Colt brand this or a Colt brand buffer tube. You can't use anything else. And it's like, well, what about a stuff that's better? No, that's all unacceptable. Well, the new department was really funny because I said, hey, what's your guys' rifle policy? And he looked at me and goes, is it good? I go, it's a Noveske Cobalt that I built. And he goes, allowed. I'm like, hell yeah. And so it's just been funny. And so like you have a bunch of guys who
the binary trigger gets flipped over. Hell yeah. Here we go.
No. So they have like they issue out guns, but if you don't want one of their guns and you want to use your own gun, they're fine with that, and you can use all sorts of stuff on it. Like if you want to run a compensator on your duty gun, go for it. You want to port your duty gun, go for it. If you want to stipple it and then run a RMR or run a 507 comp or run a Vortex XL, it doesn't matter. We don't care. As long as you have a holster that fits and it's good, then go with God, buddy. And so it's funny seeing like the firearms cadre here. They all have like Glock 47s with like Dawson precision mag wells, like silicon carbided gripped up.
Oh, jeez.
What's
Nice.
it called? Radian ramjets and Trijicon SROs, and that's like that
$2,500
apparently.
Glocks. Oh man.
Yeah,
That's
they
all
have
these dudes
$2,500
running those.
worth of Glocks, and then they're in a Velcro pouch. Like,
Yes,
yeah,
Uncle
shit.
Mike's. Uncle Mike's. So it's been fun just kind of learning and getting to do stupid shit again, and being back out on the road has been a lot of fun. Being a detective was a lot of fun, but it just wasn't it got boring real quick.
Jared,
So
Jared
Don't
needs to
like
be
that
out
white
on those
collar property
streets.
crime.
no, it's awful.
Jared needs to be grabbing some bitch by the back of the weave, pulling her off and say, "You can't stab him because he didn't pay you for crack." Both of those
First
are
of
illegal.
all, you should know, Tom, you cannot grab any bitch by the back of the weave because it'll come out. So that's not where you grab. Jesus.
From personal experience.
Get your shit together,
I'm
Tom.
sorry, sir. I'm sorry.
But yeah, it's been fun, but it's been busy, and so I'm going to be going to Graves here at the beginning of the new year, and that'll be fun doing cop shit again. So
Yep.
I'm excited for it.
And
I'm making more money, so it's like, all right, good deal.
Solid gold. Andy?
I've been playing around with the I haven't shot a gun since I shot my deer almost a month ago. That was the last round I fired. Oh wait, I lied. I did teach a class in between, so I guess I did shoot a little bit. But I've been messing around with that Ace VR, and it's really fun. Like really, 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 really fun. I'm not going to try and sell it as a training tool, but it's better than not dry firing. And I'm using it to get more aggressive because I am not an aggressive shooter by nature. I just tend to be too cautious shooting. So I'm like trying to shoot those targets with my eyeballs before I move to the next one. And like if your hand goes that little bit as you press the trigger, like it'll go off that plate. So it's still just stupid fun. Yep. I'm having a lot of fun playing around with it. And other than that, it's been yeah, pretty slow except for chasing snowflakes with snowplows. And yeah, otherwise so getting ready for Area 3.
So what grip module did you use with it? Because it comes with the the Arcturus.
I got a Staccato.
The Staccato.
Just because it was the closest thing.
I mean, the grip angle is pretty similar.
There is. Yeah. So that's why I got it.
Shadow 2 grip module for that thing?
Not yet.
They don't.
Nope.
They don't. But you can get people to make them
3D printed. Yeah, a dude actually sent me a he texted me a photo of his 3D printed Shadow 2 with the magazine coming down the bottom. It was pretty neat. But yeah, I mean, there's people 3D printing the modules, but there's a bunch of logistics, and they're a small company, so it's like to get a bunch of this stuff made and to make sure it works. Like the first time I ever actually used it, the marketing guy, Noah, he's local to us. So he actually brought one of the prototypes to a match, and we were messing with it. This had been August of 23. And I didn't even want to mess with it because I'm just like, I was really skeptical because it just looked like a video game. And then when I actually messed around with it, yes, it's a video game 100%, but it's closer to real shooting than any other.
But it can be fun.
Thingy. And it's fun. It's super fun.
Does it have iron sights on it?
Like you can if you want.
You can if you want. So the one thing is like
you're old.
Shut up. Messing around with PlayStation VR 2 because my son got a PlayStation VR 2, so like high end running on the PS5, and playing like Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 8 in first person view, aiming down the sights of the gun. That's the one thing is the focal depth thing is really hard because no matter where you put your eyes, the focus does not change.
Right.
And so
yeah, that's the one thing it doesn't really do.
So having
Yeah,
a dot or
can't.
whatever, it's
But you
fine.
do with that one. Are you actually like if you move eyes, like if I close my left eye, the dot disappears.
Correct.
Just like real life.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's
like
the same way.
So if I sit there and I have this pretend USP out in front of my right eye, cap and a Granado, right? And I close my right eye, it's not the pistol's no longer in front of my right eye.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of one of those focal things because like even when you record it, like if you're sharing the screen, you can choose like what screen you're sharing, the right eye screen or the left eye screen.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. And so it's like I would like that, but like even when I'm playing that, like it's hard because like if I'm looking down the iron sights and I want to like look at the iron sights to kind of like check alignment or whatever like that, like I can't do it. So it's neither fish nor fowl. Like I can't see exactly what I want when I want to see it with my eyes.
No,
have
and
you guys seen the new Halo VR? The original Halo game, somebody modded it out so you can actually do Halo 1 Combat Evolved in VR, and it looks amazing. He's just running around like grabbing elites by the face and throwing them into the ground. And it's just like, oh my God.
Jared keeps running.
I'll buy VR just for that.
Jared keeps running into the wall with his erection. He's just like, oh my God.
Where's Cortana? Where's Cortana?
Well, you had a, I think it was Noah, you had him on your show.
Just
this week.
Last week we had him on, yeah. And
no,
it's
cool.
It's neat. It's cooler than you would think, and it's not does it replace dry fire? No. It's a little it's expensive if you don't already own a
Quest
a Quest,
the Meta Quest
2 or 3. My boys each have a Quest 2, so I guess the graphics aren't quite as good on the 2. So like there was one I was doing last night where the poppers were pretty long, and I'm like, I think the dot's on it, and press the trigger. But honestly, with my eyes, that's kind of how it is in real life now too, if it's far enough away. But
and it's still on the subscription
they have the new
service, right?
Say that again, Tom.
Is it still on the subscription service?
It's subscription, yeah, and it's like ends up being like I can't remember what it is, a year total.
160 something a year, $14.
Yeah.
If you
it's like $14 a month.
That's so it's stupid.
I won't even spring for a Hulu subscription for $14 a month. But
yeah, in all transparency, like Noah gave me the gun and the subscription because we were going to be talking about it on the podcast, and so like I'm not sugarcoating it because I think it's the greatest thing ever. I'm just saying exactly what I think about it.
I think it's really cool. I don't know if it would be worth the investment for me to get into it for like $1,000 plus $160 a year, pretty much.
Yeah, it's cool, but subscriptions are bullshit.
And that's the hard thing.
You buy apps? Will you pay for an app on your phone, Jared?
I really don't have apps on my phone.
Neither do I.
Why do I need apps when I have Pornhub?
No.
Right? No, I get I know people like this.
That's a subscription that pays for itself.
I'm not spending 99 cents on an app. Are you shitting me?
Yeah.
Why would I do that when the rest of the internet's free? You sons of bastards.
No, I
mean, would pay $1 for a Patreon. Fuck.
I'll pay if it's like I like
$3.83 for another show.
I like owning the product. If you're gonna sell me something, I like to buy it and then I like to just have it. I don't want to have to do a monthly service subscription to be able to turn on my heated seats. I don't want to do any of that honky tonk bullshit. And so
if I'm gonna pay outright for the gun,
I don't know,
or outright for the game,
that's the thing.
I don't want to pay a subscription service for it. Like I don't want to pay like there's games I could renew my PlayStation Plus subscription and play games online, or I could just buy them on my PC and play them for free online if I actually had the time to play video games. Like I don't. The whole thing nowadays is like products and stuff that were very much a one-time buy before with product support are now subscription based. almost everything. And like, I get it. Like, you're gonna get more money out of me in the long run, especially if I'm not paying attention to stuff. But like, I pay for one subscription, and that is YouTube Premium, and that's it.
And that's slowly going up in price too.
That's not one I would pay for.
But, see, I would like it. I would like it if it was just the standard method of DLC. Like, you can buy the game, it comes with 50 stages or whatever, and then they can have extra content where they're like, hey, we're still making stuff. We just added these classifiers in, but it's going to be $5 extra to do this. Or, you know, you can get in-game points or whatever. I mean, there's a million different ways you could have done this, but it just it pisses me off when games especially are like, yeah, you can buy this game and you have to spend all this money to actually play it, but then you can only play it online with a subscription that you have to constantly renew. It's not, and then on top of that, a lot of games now are starting to do DLC on top of that, and then the Game Pass, and so it's just like stuff on top of stuff on top of stuff, where if you're gonna fuck me one way. When you try to go for multiple holes, that's just rude.
My audio editing software I've used since I started in college radio, I now have to pay $21 a month for. And it sucks. I used to buy
like
it
Adobe.
Outright. Well, that's what it is. Adobe Audition is what I'm talking about. And it used to be like a $300 or $350 piece of software if I bought the new version. And now you can't do that. It's like $21 or $22 a month. Like the buying the annual subscription saves you $1 a month. Like, so even if you buy it all at once, you're not saving money. It sucks.
Right.
But no, and I'm not trying to defend their business model. I'm just saying it's fun. That's all.
The argument for it, and just straight up, I agree with everything you're saying, Jared. Like, hardcore, I agree with you. There's a couple arguments for it. Is that it gives them consistent money they can use to further develop the app, as opposed to it's like, okay, are we going to have enough money? So I get that. Where I have, and that's me trying to give them benefit. Where I have issues with that is like my architectural program, ArchiCAD. They are known, like hardcore known, for putting out shit tier upgrades and charging you $10,000 to do it. And everybody in the user group are like, oh, is this ArchiCAD 28? Okay, what did you guys do? Well, we gave you this one obscure thing that nobody actually really uses, and we broke 2 other things. Like, are you going to fix those things you broke? We can't promise that. And that's literally true. And so you're like, if I'm paying for a subscription service and I know that company is, because like small companies, right? For small companies, it makes a little bit more sense because that's their lifeblood. But if I know that they're actually out there, they're working hard, and they're actually developing stuff, I'm like, okay, I'm going to support you. But then I look at like my ArchiCAD and I'm like, I hate you bastards. Well, I really, really hate you people.
Can you literally buy it, pay for a subscription once, and then keep using it? Or once you stop with the subscription, is the entire program shut down?
Oh, that's a funny thing, Tommy. So right now with our ArchiCAD thing specifically, we have bought it and we own it, and so that software works. But they are doing like the full court press trying to get us to go to their newest model, which is pure subscription, so that if we decide we don't want it, you're boned. And I'm like, no, we're gonna ride this ArchiCAD 27, 28 into the ground before I will get down to a subscription system and give you money.
Well, what the hell's going to happen with building a house that's going to change that drastically? Like, is there a new type of water pipe you're going to have to stick in there or something?
Somebody's going to do an Audacity version of the same thing. Like every program, somebody's going to do the Audacity version of the thing. The one thing that I find absolutely just frustrating is nobody wants you to buy and own anything now. Like, you don't own anything. It's like, I'm not going to rent. I'm not renting, a $250 piece of software. I'm not doing that. Like, I paid the $250. I'm like,
when was the last time you bought a DVD?
I freaking love the movie, and because I want to watch it and have it forever, regardless of whatever.
We actually have clients, Jared, who, and it's not tons of them, but we have enough clients now who are actually saying we want to have space for our DVD collections, like our hard media collections, because to them, they're making all of the arguments you're making. They're like, if I buy Die Hard and I have it on a DVD, I always have that. Amazon's not going to be sneaking in and being like, "Oh, we're taking that away from you now because we can't."
Right. Well, you remember in what, like,
We're making
probably
Bruce Willis
15, 20 years ago, when it used to be like you buy a DVD, then you got a digital copy of it, and then like you'd go register it on some weird ass website.
Oh, yeah.
But all those websites now are dead. All those websites, all those digital videos that we owned are all gone. And so it's just crazy that, like, if it's not on Netflix or it's not on Amazon, it doesn't exist anymore, which is absurd and crazy. That it's just like there's all these videos and movies that are just gone. They're being just obliterated from history, and it's nuts how that's the new model, though. Everybody's going to it. Everybody's going to this new model of the subscription base, and everybody's, because it makes so much more money. And hell, even Taser's doing that. It used to be
taser somebody.
Yeah. It used to be they would sell you a thingy that kind of looks like a gun, and then you'd put probes in it and you'd shoot the probes out. That's what they would do. And they'd sell you new guns, new batteries, and new probes. Now they've gone full crazy town, where you can't even have one of the new tasers without having their subscription based software. You need to have updates done constantly. You need to have this. You need to have this. You need to have this. You cannot go and buy the new Taser 10 by itself as a police department. You have to package it with their evidence, with their body camera, with their subscription-based services.
Wow.
There's a lot of small departments that aren't even going to have tasers in the future because it's gotten so cost prohibitive. Where a taser used to be, a couple $100, maybe $500. It used to be cost as much as a gun. But hey, it could work. Now tasers are like 12, 15, 16, 1800. Like, it's nuts how expensive the tasers are getting. Then the probes are getting more expensive every single time. And now they're getting fancier and fancier and fancier. So there's so much actual electronics and computer shit inside the tasers now. You have body cameras. You have cameras inside the taser now. So anytime it gets drawn, the camera gets turned on and it sends a signal out to all other cameras in the area to start recording. And so it's nuts. And it's just nuts that's what everything is going to. Like you were talking about earlier, Andy, Adobe's going to that, and you can't even
They've been doing
buy
that a long
stuff.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it just sucks.
I mean, the thing about I kind of have a love-hate relationship with Adobe, because I don't use it as extensively as professionals, but I sure do love how, like, the software it just gets a little bit better and a little bit better. I always feel like I'm getting good value for what I use it for. Like, I use the Photoshops and Lightrooms, and so I'm like, yeah, I'm getting good value out of this. And that's for me. It's like I'm going back to the Graphisoft, and I'm like, why can't you be like them?
Well, and good. Like when Tom said, "Oh, somebody will do an Audacity," Audacity is the biggest steaming pile of shit I've ever seen in my life.
Audacity's
it's fucking
great.
Awful.
It's
no,
great.
it's not. It's fucking dog shit.
It's dog. Yeah, it's dog. I mean, like,
it's ugly. It's inelegant.
It's
dog shit.
It just freaking works.
Don't you talk about my mom like that? Fuck you.
Well, then, like, on the video software, you have like DaVinci Resolve. Like, here's the thing. Like, software, it's like one thing for the software too. But like, if I'm actually buying like a hard physical copy of something, and like I'm buying a gun, and I'm buying the gun and the little clicking thing and all that jazz for this, and like, then I'm gonna do it. It's just like for me, it's like the BMW thing. Like, we're gonna charge you for a subscription program to turn on the heated seat you fucking bought. Like, no, thank you. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Anyways,
somebody's CEO is gonna get shot.
Now the one the one subscription service I will subscribe to is Dominate Defense. Check out their new $99 a month belt program. Get a new belt every 5 months for just $99 a month. Check them out. Best belts in the industry, the Mach 1 speed belt, all their concealment belts, all their fantastic stuff from Dominate and from American Operator Gear. Use promo code PARA10, save 10% off. Check out Rune Tactical. get a +1 in your gun for all those stages that are like, oh my gosh, I'm not good enough. I did not subscribe to, Trick Shot VR for $90 a month. So you get a +1 in the gun for that stuff too. And then also check out W74 guide rods, heavy weights in the guns. Get that ass caked out and have yourself a good time. Use same promo code PARA10. Also, Telegram. Use no promo code for Telegram. Messaging app. Search PARAcast. You'll find it. Join the chat, and then ask Robert questions, and we'll try to do our best to answer them.
From my very good friend, Mr. Alex the Coco Went. What is your favorite metric caliber, and why is it 9.3 by 62? What is that? Is that a 9mm?
I have no. 9.3 by 62.
That's a rifle cartridge.
That's a rifle cartridge. The
That's
62.
a big rifle.
The 62 gives it
cartridge.
away.
Huh? Yeah,
62.
I've never heard of it.
I think 30-06 is like 63.
Huh.
Like it's 7.62 by 63. I think is what a 30-06 is. I think.
Okay.
My favorite
So
metric pistol cartridge is the 12.7 by what is it? 12.7 by like 41 from the Halo pistol. Now that's a metric cartridge right there. It's a.
I like that 30mm that comes out of the Warthog.
The Warthog.
I like the 10mm.
Yes.
It's the best millimeter.
That's not a. Oh, there you go.
The 10mm. You talked about it. You were talking to somebody who knew that to shoot
11 millimeters.
That's what she said. But
Womp womp.
it's one of those guns that you're shooting like that's just fun.
Yeah, it just puts a smile on your face. I don't know what it is.
Fuck this bear and the bear behind it.
Yeah. No, I loaded up some 1300 like 1310 was the average for 165 grain gold dots, and I ended up having to put my deer down with it, and it evaporated the lungs. It was pretty cool. And that was a first time I'd ever shot a deer with a pistol before. Granted, it was laying on the ground after I had hit it in the spine with my rifle, but it was just like I was so interested to get it open just to see what it did internally, what it actually did, because I'd seen a lot of 30
pig.
From 6 feet away for sure. I'd seen what 30 caliber bullets do to deer, but I hadn't seen what a pistol bullet would do, and it was a big spicy meatball, and it did the job. But
kind of a weird question. Fun. Very ignorant, right? Why would you not have just shot the deer in the head? I really don't know. I'm asking.
No, there's a very good reason why I didn't do it, and it is CWD, chronic wasting disease.
Mm-hmm.
It is a prion disease. If you've ever heard of a thing called Jacob, it's spelled Jacob. It's basically it's a protein prion disease. It gets into their brain and it just starts eating holes in the brain.
Robert, don't look this up. Don't look at pictures of this.
No, actually, funny enough, Utah Division of Wildlife Resources has a podcast. They actually talked about chronic wasting disease.
Yeah, it's a huge problem in the deer populations,
and they can have it for years. Apparently,
no, it's not. No, it's not a virus. It's a prion protein disease, and like you can't make it go away. Like you can't cook it out of meat. You can't disintegrate it. It's just there, and it lives in the brain and spinal cord. So like I lost a bunch of meat because I got it up into the spine. So that's why I didn't shoot it in the head. So,
gotcha.
And it let out in about 20 seconds after I put it through the lungs. So,
yeah. From Dred Scott, what are the best drills or things to do to get better at calling your shots? Also, I bought PractisCore Competitor a while ago. How the hell do I use it? What is it actually for?
Best things for calling your shots, buy a red dot. So when the red dot's on the center of the target and you pull the trigger, that's going to show you where the shot would be. Now, if you feel something go twitchy in your hands, that probably means that the shot's not going to be where you want it to be because you miss because you kind of jerk the trigger around. But the whole idea of like calling shots now in the age of red dots is kind of if you see funky movement in the dot right before the shot breaks, that would be an indication that the gun wasn't steady when you took the shot. Like I think we can all see it pretty easily now. It was a little bit harder in iron sights when you were going because there's always a little bit of movement in the sights when you broke the trigger. Um, but it's pretty simple. Best thing I've ever seen for calling shots is you can take two targets, bring an old T-shirt. You can bring an old T-shirt to the range. Put a T-shirt over one USPSA standard target, staple it to the front of some sticks. Take another USPSA target that's clean, staple it to the back of the sticks. And so you have like a T-shirt up front, stick sandwich with two USPSA targets. And then you can stand back at 25 or 30 yards and draw the gun and shoot at it a couple times or do a doubles drill and see how it goes. But with aimed shots, because you're trying to call your shots, and you will not be able to see the impacts through the T-shirt. But then when you walk around to the back of the target, you'll be able to see holes in the back of the target, and then you can kind of guess whether or not you were right or not. But it's pretty easy. Like put the dot on the target, pull the trigger, and that's where it should be.
Oh, that's better than what I've been doing.
I think you can also.
It's fancy.
Yeah.
You can also, if sometimes people don't. I mean, I work with a lot of really, really new shooters. They don't understand what they're seeing when they see it, and sometimes when you hear people talking about call shots and this and that, you still don't know what you're looking for because I'm pulling the trigger and it was there and the bullets aren't. And if you just slow fire, just press the trigger fast while aiming at a target and just pay attention to what the dot does when you press the trigger quickly. Just shoot groups, but just press the trigger quickly. Like, oh, now I get what I'm looking at from the dot. Like that'll, if you're not sure what you're seeing, like do it that way and then do something like what Tom said. To learn it at speed. And if you just do it a lot, you'll get it eventually.
Well, take the gun, empty, dry fire, point it at a small spot on the wall, and pull the trigger as hard as you freaking can. Like one pull, bam, and then see how much movement's in the gun. And then you'll be like, oh, so if I start pulling the trigger like this is how the shot's gonna go. And then you start working on your grip till you can pull that. I don't even need to tell you how to grip harder or less or whatever, but you'll like use your hands to stabilize the gun, and then you can pull the trigger hard and if at speed like you would be as if you're trying to split some doubles, and you will see how the dot reacts to that. And then like that's part of calling your shot. Like if the dot's there and I manipulate the trigger with this grip at this speed with the finger, where's the bullet going to end up? And when you see a lot of movement, that's going to tell you, like Andy was talking about the VR game, like if you start interacting with the trigger one way or another, the bullet's going to start going that way. So just like most of Jared's class stuff, like have a freaking awesome grip that when you slap the hell out of the trigger, working on the grip, that the gun's not going to deviate.
I kind of do something similar to what Tom does. It's just slightly simpler. I will shoot. I'll work on other stuff in the beginning of the day, and then once my target's shot up a little bit, I'll actually get a piece of paper and put it on the back side of the USPSA target. So that'll actually cover the majority of the holes on the back of the target, but you still have a bunch of holes on the front of the target, so you can't distinguish which hole is yours from the front. And then you want to do a drill, shoot, doubles, triples, whatever, quads at whatever distance you want to do. And then you can shoot 4 times, holster, and then you want to say, okay, I think this is where the dot was. I would call that like 9 o'clock in the alpha, a 3 o'clock in the alpha, and then 2 like right in the middle. I felt a jerk a little bit to the left, and then I overcompensated and jerked a little bit to the right. But I think all 4 should be in the A zone. This is where I think they should be. Then you can walk up to the target, look at the back, look at the piece of paper and say, oh, hey, were they where you thought they were going to be? Were they not? And then you can mark those and do it again. That's a really simple, easy thing to do.
What about PARAcast competitor?
I don't know, man.
The only value of PARAcast competitor is you changing your scores to delude yourself into thinking that you could have been a hero if you had just gotten that one score.
The other thing is you can take another shooter and then go into the stage and basically see that your splits and transitions are too slow and you're not aggressive enough. but I'll save you the $10. You're not shooting aggressive enough. That's why you're losing. Your splits and transitions are too slow.
I mean, yeah.
That's what everyone figures out. I mean,
one of the big advantages of, like the Steelman, one of the big advantages of PractisCore Competitor is if your club does live scoring, then PractisCore Competitor is constantly updating throughout the match.
That's true.
Yeah.
And so from that perspective, it's incredibly useful to the point where, and I've had to tell people this so many times, PractisCore Competitor are not the match results. The match results are on practiscore.com. Just because it says something on PractisCore Competitor doesn't mean that it necessarily is going to say the same thing on PractisScore. The official match is scored on practiscore.com. People get that messed up because we've all become so accustomed to looking at PractisScore Competitor. And it is good. It is handy just to be able to import all that data from the commander timers and have that tell you, oh, this is what my splits are. Here's what I'm actually doing.
Didn't we have a tiny little error at the state match where on PractisScore Competitor, one person got third place, and then on PractisScore, another person got third place because there was a slight miscalculation in PractisScore Competitor that didn't get updated, where on the main PractisScore,
yes,
it did. And so that was actually a kind of a point of consternation for everybody, where it's like, wait, how does this guy show? Why aren't the scores the same? And then it turned out it was because, some janky little thing that happened, that somebody plugged in something wrong, they fixed it, and now it
creates a snowball that just keeps building and building on itself. Yeah, no, and that does happen. You try not to, but I mean, hell, if I can get through a major match without something going wrong, I'll probably retire at that point because I'll never have a match as good as that again.
Yep.
That'll be in April when you help me run the cop match and the not a cop match. It's gonna be beautiful.
Ironically,
be beautiful.
that match actually runs really smooth. That's always been a very smooth running match.
It's gonna be the biggest match in the world.
Hell yeah! Really. It's gonna be bigger than Nationals.
It actually, technically, it might be, which is absurd.
Yeah, that's awesome. From our good friend Eric Melander, what would you like to see in the next series of USPSA classifiers regarding design and skill testing?
What needs to be?
To be honest with you, I mean, I think, okay, disregard the current one where it got messed up, where they got it wrong. What was it? The 2022 series classifiers were bang on, I think it was. I like the classifiers that are more movement based. They're what we're doing in the matches. They're harder to set up, sure, but boy, it sure is reflective of what we're actually doing. The whole stand and deliver thing that is so popular in the 99 series, it's not super okay. It is actually reflective of the skills that we demand in isolation in USPSA. I think there's absolute value in that regard. It is a lot more fun to have it be more of a stage design. What I would really love to see, and I think Jake Martins is actually doing a damn good job with this, is he's trying to create classifiers, or at least look for classifiers that can be built at indoor ranges.
Well, yeah,
that are some shorter things. He posted a couple of Facebook posts where he actually said, look, here's a 4-stage match, and he said we're using all the same props in the same bay, and we're going to start with this, and then here's stage 2, we moved this thing around, stage 3 is this, and then here's the classifier. And I was like, that's clever for people who can only shoot indoors. Well, hell, I mean, Andy, like in the middle of the winter, that would be a viable thing for some of the Midwest places. I think there's an idea behind there. I'd love to see that in classifiers.
I wouldn't mind seeing more stand and delivers that are just new, like, because we have a bunch of old ones that are shot the fuck out. Like,
right.
Let's get some new ones in there that are just a little different and maybe a little more dynamic. But
just because they're old doesn't mean they're shot out. Because the 24 series is shot out, and they came out shot out brand new out of the factory. The nice thing about the 24s, they came pre-shot out, which was nice.
Yeah, no, they did. But no, I think just some fun little short ones that aren't just stand and deliver, where it's like lean and deliver maybe, or just slightly different than those. And I don't care to shoot another multi-string classifier ever again because they just slow everything down. Like it's one string, 8 rounds, call it good.
Like, I will push back on that a tiny bit because the multi-string.
Well, then let's do a 32-round field course because it takes the same amount of time to deal with as a 4-target 3-string stage.
Actually, you made my point though. So like at the armory match, I'm always like I'll have a classifier over in the other bay, and you're always like having the classifier guys finish early. And I have found that the multi-string classifiers or multi-string whatever, if it has a multi-string, it introduces just enough time so that the squad that's doing the long field course, the 24-round field course, they can finish up, and then you can get your transition to happen more cleanly. It's a very tiny kind of like problem solution.
So good.
But
so not
in
only
that
do you
regard,
have to set up
it does
a
work.
gigantic classifier, you actually have to set up a field course right before it. Thank goodness.
Yay.
Well, the nice thing with us is our field course is we take the 2 stages and we quickly combine them into a field course. It works out pretty well. But I agree with you, Andy. That's my one piece of like this actually works in this unique situation.
I never think of indoor matches, and so that's something I didn't think of. But like, Jared, when you talk about how timing is the god of your match,
correct.
Like that's the thing. Like the first time I ran Great Plains, I got lucky. Everything timed out perfect. It was perfect. And then I got cocky, and then I thought I was putting 2 small stages into a double bay. That turned out they could have each been their own stage in their own bay.
Right.
And so we had this giant backup on this one stage. And one of the 2 stages was just 4 targets, but it was 2 strings. And it was just, nope. I'm never doing a multi-string stage ever again.
Yeah.
But I'm not thinking about that for a indoor match.
I don't know what I want in a classifier, but I know what I don't want. And multiple strings is what I don't want.
Yeah.
I really get it. I truly do. I understand. And in like 99% of the circumstances, I completely agree with you. I have this one very unique little carve out where I've figured out how to make it work. And so, but yeah,
your
I
autism
understand.
is stronger than our autism.
I guess.
I would like to see like you have stand and deliver or something else, but just give like I would like to see them just say like, okay, for this set of classifiers, every classifier is going to be 10 rounds and 4 targets, and just throw that out to the entire USPSA membership and then see what comes back to you. Because I think
the Revo guys are going to have issues.
Well,
and stack.
Then they can load or whatever. But if you have 4 targets or 10 targets or whatever like that, or like with a mandatory reload or 6 targets with a mandatory reload, something around that range of 6 shots to 12 shots, and then you just tell like the USPSA everyone like this is what you're going to get. You are going to get a decent amount of classifiers that push a decent amount of skill. Like some tux targets would be fine, and some very thin targets would be fine. Like a lot of those classifiers that are basically, what's that one classifier? It's basically a line of targets at like 10 yards, and like there's no chutes that have like a 2-inch branch of like the A zone left in the middle, and then a heads.
Disaster factor?
I think disaster factor.
Disaster, something like that. I can't remember.
Those are really fun. Anyways, I got to start getting going, but let's do one more question.
All right, one more question. I don't understand the kerfuffle around appendix carry in USPSA. As long as the muzzle doesn't break the 180 on the draw, who cares about the position of the holster? Am I smoking crack, or are some people overcomplicating things? Also, who's coming to Georgia for the Peach Classic in April? Our RO staff have been having Zoom meetings with the match director to prep for it several months now. Well, then fine. We're going to go for the hat trick.
Let's go
from Jeff Smith. From Jeff Smith. What is the best shooting podcast, and why is it the PARAcast?
Because they're cheaper.
Now that's 4 questions.
All right, the appendix. Let's do the appendix.
Okay.
You're smoking crack.
Okay, let Andy, because I have it on good authority. He knows something about this.
Okay, there are those who think that if you are a right-handed shooter facing 45 degrees to your left, appendix. Okay, Jared, you're on point there. and you draw with your muzzle never breaking the 180, that should be a DQ for an uprange draw.
Why? Wait, that doesn't make sense. Oh,
You're
this is your
using
point.
logic. You're using logic, Robert. Stop it.
Oh,
Okay. This is the crux of the argument, is the lack of logic being used. They keep wanting to redefine members of the board, some of whom are range masters, think that because the front of holster is somehow incredibly important to this rule, that if you draw with the front of the holster past the 180, front of the holster is where your sights are. Okay. Not
the holster doesn't shoot shit.
Right. Exactly. That's my whole point, Tom. Exactly.
Just dicks.
And that's been my entire point the whole time, is why don't we worry about the muzzle instead of the front of the holster? This whole front of holster thing is an unnecessary complication, because the rule as it's written is actually fine. It's rule 10.5.16. It says that you have to be in the act of drawing. You have to be, the front of your holster has to be breaking the 180, and so all three have to be true. You have to be moving or facing uprange. Now, if the rule is enforced as written, it's not a problem, but it's not being enforced as written.
So are they saying because the face of my holster is facing this direction that I'm facing uprange?
No. What they're saying is, well, actually, that's part of it. That is part of it. But the thing, like a lot of people got really spun up about the whole front of holster thing. It's not even the biggest problem with the rule. The problem with the rule is that it says this, and. The word "and" is the thing that causes the problem, because all three things have to be true at the same time. And even if your holster is breaking the 180, you also must be moving or facing uprange in order for it to be a DQ under this rule. So it reads like an exemption to an appendix draw as long as your muzzle doesn't break 180. Like, I'm not advocating we get rid of that.
Right.
But if the muzzle goes straight ahead, and we also make sure we grant the appendix dudes a 3-foot radius, just like we do the FBI holsters, then I think this is fixed. But like, I directly emailed Troy about it back in September and said, this reads like an exemption for this reads like an exemption for appendix holsters. Am I correct? And he said no. So
you are in fact wrong.
I'm just reading things as they're written.
Nerd.
Sorry for my
the problem is that there's range masters who go to great lengths to reinterpret the plain language reading of the rule book.
Well, this is what I don't get. I spent entire last year of 2023 competing from appendix. I don't remember the shit being broken a year ago. Like, I really what part of this was so hard to get over doing this a year ago? But some asshole went out there and decided.
Old white man.
Some old white guy. Hold on, what's old now? It's north of 49. Anyway, some old white dude.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Me too. I was trying to read the room. Some old white dude decided that he was going to try to can some guy because he's drawing from appendix and he doesn't quite like it. It's just like this.
It's. I think it really is.
Like, everybody show up and draw appendix. Like it's like. What
you can have
this?
A silencer on and have it in an appendix and just be like.
I always tell people the new shooter match. I'm like, if you're carrying appendix, be aware of this. Keep the gun pointed up range. Turn your body down range. Be safe. But at the end of the day, it sounds to me a lot of this is an education issue more so than anything, and
education amongst the range masters and ROs.
Yes.
As much as anything.
Yeah. And even what I have learned. How do I say this really correct? There are a lot of range masters, and range masters have feelings and opinions on things, and they're not always right, even though they make a ruling. And that goes all the way to the top, because sometimes even the chief range master can be wrong. I know, shocker of all shockers, they can be wrong. And the question then comes down to, how do we create a rule book that is written by people who actually know how to write a rule book, and not by a bunch of people who only think in the immediacy of today and not the unintended consequences of tomorrow.
Or by people who look for a battleground so they can have some sort of minor victory over nonsense that doesn't matter anymore because they keep losing on real victory. Like
I
losing on
tried
real
really
things.
hard to play that thing as
like,
fair as possible. Dude.
Well, I don't like, this is the most narcissistic shit I've ever seen. It's just like, well, we can't lose on anything we can't win on anything real. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to fight over this, and by God,
we're gonna punch that short bus kid over there right in his goddamn face. That's
that
what
little
we're
retard with his 3 teeth. Well, it's going to be 2 teeth because he's going to get it because we don't like appendix carry anymore. You want to know why we don't like appendix carry anymore? Because we kick the brace, the brace thing. We kicked the Flux Raider down the curb because people got mad at us, and we're going to show them, you little concealed carry sons of bitches. We're going to show you. This
the origin of this goes back farther than the brace thing, though. Actually,
mm-hmm.
Oh,
2019.
Before that.
No.
Well, no, the original rule change started then, but I mean, the controversy around this started at CO Nats.
You guys could you guys could just fire people.
No, they can't. They can't actually do that. They have rights.
No, they have rights not to have it talked about, but it just takes
not for long.
Just some votes.
They have rights. You can't take them.
Just some votes.
God, at the end of the day, I mean, you just, jeez, I don't know. It's hard to me.
You just need somebody at the back of the room to go, ha, facts.
Yeah.
I don't know. Even once told me, said, if you're going to be a range officer, be a shooter's range officer. And that's the best way to be. Don't be a range officer that is trying to hold the line for all the range officers. Use the rule book.
Adversarial.
Yeah. Use the rule book to keep people in the match, not to get them out. And it's like, oh, it's the same rule book. It is, but how you address it is very, very different. Really good range masters will take you off to the side and say, did you see this happen? Yes. Or did you see this happen? Oh, I'm not sure. Well, then they're getting back in the match. Don't look for ways to try and burn shooters. Well, at the end of the day, we're all on the same side. This should never be a range officers versus the shooters. It should never be that way.
No, we're not all on the same sides. That's why these problems keep happening. Some people,
no,
some range
but
officers
they should be.
So I know, but some range officers and some range masters have to protect the thin pink line. And whatever's on the opposite side of the thin pink line, they're gonna do. Hey, you just punch the shit out of that handcuffed suspect, and it's just hey, boys got to be boys. You know what I'm saying? Don't you turn your back on us. It's that guy's got appendix. He's a new
How dare
kid.
you don't respect my authority?
He just spent
I'm
all
a
this money on
deputized law enforcement officer.
He just spent all this money on a life membership. Well, he's got a T-Rex arm shirt. Get him the fuck out of here. Thin pink line. Get him out of here. We don't like this stuff.
Get out of here, you spaghetti arm fuck.
And on that note, thanks for listening, downloading, and subscribing. Thanks for all that you guys do. Andy's stayed pretty clean throughout that entire conversation. Good job, Andy. And Robert tried to save everything, and me and Jared tried to drag it back down to the hell where it needs to be, because that's where demons are. They need to be vanquished. So this life membership is $57.28. You can remove me from it. I don't shoot really much anymore. But anyways, thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. Our subscribership is $1 a month. Do not let our VR discussion dissuade you from giving us free money.
It's software. It's not hardware.
Correct.
If you want something hard, it costs more.
It does cost more. And sometimes it takes longer than it used to take. They get there. And, but what are you going to do?
They got pills for that.
Also hardware.
How come I'm on a show with 3 other guys in their 40s? How come none of you have gray hair? What the hell's going on?
Hold on.
I have a tiny bit.
What's with
right there.
Hold on a second.
Living.
Jared's not
Utah, or is it a Mormon thing? What's the deal?
I'm in my 30s, you rat fucks.
Oh, sorry.
And he's losing more hair than us.
You have an Asian red beard though, Jared. That's equally perplexing.
You get nuked so many times, weird stuff happens to the gene pool. And your porn.
That tentacle stuff, man. What the hell?
It's not a coincidence that the only country that's been nuked twice also came up with tentacle porn.
He's got a point there.
Anywho.
I don't know. I don't know how we say goodnight from that.
Well,
just
they also
end it.
sorry.
The ending can't get better at this
They
point.
also deal with octopuses, so I'm not going to completely buy that hypothesis. Anyways, thanks for listening, downloading, subscribing.
Pour the soy sauce over that octopus. It starts wiggling.
Sometimes they say it burns. For Robert Wyatt, Jared Stepp, and Andy Erickson, I'm Tom Nelson, bidding you peace, love, and soul as we depart into the open waters of the Sea of Life with octopuses and tentacles on a little tugboat we like to call the PARAcast.
I'm glad I'm on the tugboat at least. Good night, everybody.
That's the gay one.
The tugboat.
Ah, shit. I'm going to go watch Octopussy.